Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens, the Screenwriting Step-by-Step Project, episode 86. My name is Glenn Gers, and I am here every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, if I can make it, to walk you through the process of writing a TV drama pilot script, purely in order to demystify the script making process, to show you what it's like to set up an outline, to build some scenes, to rough in the scenes, to try and rewrite them, just to make it seem a little less impossible to you. This is not the only way to do it. It's not the best way to do it. It's just the way that I worked out for myself, self-taught, but the beginning of my 25-year TV and movie writing career. And now I am teaching screenwriting here on YouTube, and part of that is I thought nobody shows you what it's like to actually do this thing. They talk about how cool it will be at the end when you've got this whole perfect structure the way you want it, and you've written these scenes the way you're supposed to, blah, blah, blah. But nobody ever says, this is how you do that. You have to start with an idea for the scene. You have to understand what the point is. You have to start to rough in that scene and get the pieces and then start to work them up. That's what I'm showing you, going through it day by day, at the same time answering questions should you want to ask one. If you are not here live, that's okay. You can just ask a question at writingforscreens.com. Click on the button that says Contact Me, and you will get a window that opens a email that will go directly to me, and I will answer that email, or I will answer it here. And if for some reason you have something against writing emails from my website, that's okay. You can just put it in the comments. Put your question or comment in the comments of this or any video on my channel, and I will answer it as soon as I possibly can. And if it's a big topic that I think other people might want to hear about, I may also go through it here on the live stream. But most of the time, we are going to be working our way through the script. Right now, we are coming up to the third act, and so I am going to begin working on that. Because we have gotten to here, let's open up the outline, and I will show you what we've been doing. Hello, 99 Precinct. Good to see you. We are just explaining where we are, which is we've got this big sequence. I am just going to start here at the beginning, at the so far so good, which is where that's my marker that I just drop in the outline wherever I am so that I know where in the story I have gotten to. And now, we are just starting with this scene, Norman and Madeline, strangers with a lot to talk about. And we had just yesterday gotten to this part. We finished this, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to take that out and move it later, because this is really this is something that happens here. Look at this. Okay, so all of these notes are stuff I want to try and talk about in this one scene. So, let's see. Yes, the night before was enjoyable for both. Let's take that. That's not a question anymore. Okay. So this is just what this scene is about, which is they have had an unexpected one-night stand that neither of them saw coming, and now this is the morning after, and they are trying to figure out what that means. So the tension is they don't want to leave. They like each other. I'm going to take this out. I don't know where or if this will show up at all. So I'm just going to put it down here. Okay, so these are little bits that we are going to try and get in. So now here comes the big question. There's a couple of big questions left to ask. They are currently, the big thing is, how much of their backstory do we get here? Because this is a series. In a movie, you have one or two scenes where you drop in the whole backstory that's needed, because that's all you're going to have time for is one, usually just one hunk of backstory, or sometimes you break it up a couple times, but really it's not a big deal. Series work differently because you unfold the story over a much longer amount of time. And one of the big appeals of a series is the slow unveiling of the story. And what I've been doing here, because I'm just writing this pilot to teach you guys how to write a pilot, I'm sort of not thinking out how much is going to happen later, because I'm never going to write the rest of the show. But that is not how you write a good pilot. So we need to talk about that. Hello, this is Kitschy. Welcome. So the big question here, how much backstory do we put here, and how much do we hold for later episodes? All right, so this is just restating that in a way. This will not be the main story. So you know what? I'm just going to leave that as a question, because what we get to is the backstory that we need to establish that we don't really know here is Madeline and George, who she was, how she got married, how she got into this mess. And what I know is that their marriage was a frightening disaster. In other words, she was young and she married this rock and roll guy, and they were in a band together, and then they got married, and then it went horribly, horribly wrong. So the big question is, how did it go wrong? What exactly was wrong? And that is an interesting thing. I have to figure out what the truth is of this backstory, and then the question of how I will tell that story. Yes, I loved White Lotus. Be happy to talk about that a little later. Absolutely. Okay, hello, Mally. All right, so we're getting to the big question of how the marriage was a frightening disaster. What exactly was bad about it? What exactly was bad about George? And what I'm thinking is, whatever it is about George, we kind of could use that being useful in explaining how he became this near suicidal podcaster who tries baiting serial killers. So it's always a good idea to try and, if you're going to make something up about a character, have it be useful more than just in the one piece that you're writing, but to tell the story as a whole. This is really important. When you are doing anything in a script, I've noticed that when we're doing this here, people are tossing in suggestions. Well, they could do this. Well, they could do that. And of course they could. But the most important thing about every creative choice you're making is, how does it work for the whole? If you make up something that's cool for one scene, and then later on you're going to have another scene with those characters, you don't want to have to make up a whole different thing then. For one thing, that's exhausting to the audience and confusing. The whole idea is that when something appears in a script, it is planting a seed. It is setting up a thing that will pay off later. So let us get right back into this, where we're talking about, in this particular case, what is being set up is George and his nature to go crazy, telling a serial killer, I have evidence against you, which leads to his murder. So the question is, what about him was that? What was that? What behavior were we seeing there? For instance, was it, I had been thinking, what if he's kind of obsessive compulsive? What if he can't stop? What if once he is on a trail, he cannot let himself go? And that is a possibility, but it's also a possibility that he's kind of a, like, I have to, I am going to take down the scary person by being scary. That's this sort of fearlessness. So let's talk about what about George was scary then, and explains why he baits a serial killer. Okay, so this is the most important thing that's going on right here. So let's talk about what those possibilities are for what that was. Okay. On a case. Okay, so that's one possibility. The other possibility is fearless, which seems admirable, but is also dangerous. So, obsessive, let's make that. Okay, those are two different things. Is there another alternate? Is there another possibility? Because the thing about the obsessive is I don't know that I'd rather have that be something. The fearless thing seems more interesting to me as a characteristic. Obsessive compulsive disorder, it's a actual disorder, and I'm not sure that I want to just toss it in randomly without exploring it, without getting into it. And we're not going to be able to get into it because we don't spend any time with him. George is dead. So I think I'm going to take out the obsessive. Boom. Which leaves us with fearless. Are there any other possibilities? Before I choose this, let me think. Is there something else that this could be? I don't know. That's beginning to be nice, because it's like it's exactly what she wants and what she is now going to have to find in herself again. But it's like seeing the it's like it's like pure alcohol. You might want to drink, and it's like a certain percentage of alcohol, and that's very lovely. If you drink pure alcohol, apparently you go blind and your brain rots. So yeah. That's interesting. I'm assuming you're making up that sister, because I don't think I mentioned that's found a sister. The reason I don't want to do that is because it's too much like our meth dealer, who is who has a sense of justice, even though he himself is a criminal. So that's actually an interesting thing. The other thing is, I personally don't like backstory to be an explanation. I don't like backstory to be like, oh, somebody dropped an anvil on his toe, and so he's against all anvils. Something like that, where that's a very movie kind of thing to do. But I'm not sure how much it describes what life is like. Life is not usually so neat, and a part of me wants to make it more about his nature rather than about an event which caused him. That's just my personal preference at the moment. depending on the situation. Yes, no, I got that he wants to right or wrong, but the point is that would have that once again separates the serial killer from the marriage. And what I was trying to do was find one quality which explains or defines both. What was it that she married and loved and then feared and also made him crazy about serial killers? And if you can find one thing driving a character that can take on several roles, that's usually the best creation of a character. And the reason that I'm now hooked on this fearless thing is because it does all of that. It's and it's not the only thing. That's why I was kind of thinking, like, is there another thing? Could be anger at authority, power. In other words, the serial killer has taken power, but that's very political, and it's very it's very abstract, because someone would have to explain that he's very angry at authority and he sees the serial killer as a form of power. So it's just a little ornate. It's not bad, actually. It's not bad. I'm considering it. The other thing that's happening here, this is a thing that happens when I'm doing this series of show writing, of writing, on display. One of the things that happens here is I make decisions far faster than I would ordinarily do. I like to think things out 150 ways before I make a decision. I take a lot of time on this, and I overthink everything. I like to think I overthink productively, but let's face it, I overthink. What's kind of fun for me in doing these live streams is I am forcing myself to not overthink, to say, you know what, I got a couple of possibilities, I'm choosing one, bing, bang, boom, let's move ahead. So bing, bang, boom, I think I'm just going to say fearless, because it leads to the question of fear, which is central to Madeline. She got, as I've said, scared straight. That's the whole point. I would let it marinate, but we're at 85 sessions in here and 38 on this draft. So I do think I'm going to only marinate so much. But in general, yes, this is good advice. Let it cook. Let it marinate. Let it think things out. Don't just go with whatever will relieve the tension at that moment. Okay. Well, what's interesting is going to be like, or is it because the thing about being, I mean, he's fearless just because some people are more fearless than others. The thing I'm worried about, to explain what I'm thinking as I'm sitting here staring at this, is it does actually solve this problem. It solves the problem of this scene and the later action for George. It does that, and it does that very, very well. But thematically, is it meaningful? And if not, is there something that is more meaningful? Something about Madeline, because that's really what this is about. Never, the important thing to remember is each character is kind of about some way leading to or playing off of or informing one of the main characters. that's sort of a secret, subtle structural thing that's going on in a good story, is that there's a reflection of the central ideas in the others, or a contrast. And so what this is getting to is who is Madeline? And the question is, how fearless is she, and is that really her problem? Which comes to the point that I don't really know what they do at the end. And the end is what defines the character. The end, what they do to face their final conflict, that's the end of the story. That's what has to be planted at the beginning. And for Madeline, I'm not sure what that is. I probably wrote about it earlier on, but right now I'm not remembering. Well, the other question is his fearlessness in some ways... See, because this issue of fear, the theme of fear, relating to Madeline, especially. I have to think about this. I think I need to look at my series outline, because I do not think I have I'm just quickly looking about these notes I made a long time ago at the beginning, way back when, about how does it end? I'm reading, by the way, in case you're wondering, because I am looking at stuff I have not looked at in a long time. Okay. All right. So, really, what this comes down to is, what is Madeline's story about? I did not expect to be going here, but the truth is, I need to answer this in order to answer the question of what George means for her. So, what is Madeline's story about? We know that she is someone who was, like I said, young and free-spirited, got scared straight, and is now rediscovering her courage, her wish to live. But the question is, what does that have to do with... Then that's fine, except then she has to fight and kill a serial killer. And so what does that mean? What does that mean for the... What does it mean that her plunging back into life right to the death will make... the end of this is that they have to... Yes, he clearly did love risk taking. That's what I'm saying, is that if he loved risk taking, what does that mean for her? Because in a sense, he taught her to be afraid of risk taking because his version of it was dangerous. Um, and I have to think also about how that was true. Um, but what does that really mean about, like, what is this story telling us? What is the meaning of Madeline and Norman getting dragged into a fight with a serial killer? The thing that I knew I was trying to get to was a sense of compromise on justice and right or wrong. In other words, a sense that they they are going to do a good thing, but not purely heroically easy good thing. It's kind of, what's difficult is when you have to do a bad thing to accomplish a good thing, etc., etc. That there's some sense of complexity to the thing that they are trying to do. It's not an easy choice. But maybe that's too. That's not really what it's about. Maybe what it's about is, you have to. When you put yourself out there, you risk danger and death, but that's what you got to do, and you got to fight. Because the end of this story is Madeline and Norman murder the. Oh, this is a question. I believe they murder the serial killer. See, this is the thing. I don't actually remember what happens at the end of this story. That's why I keep going back to this the other outline. Is these are just any notes I had that weren't about the pilot. I just put here, but I didn't organize them, and I haven't really thought about it. So what I'm coming to is I need to figure out the end before I can write the beginning. That is the secret to writing. You need to figure out the end before you can write the beginning. You need to figure out the end before you can write the beginning. That is there we go. And that's actually an interesting thing I'm going to have to do now. Okay, so back to the series outline. Okay. Okay, this is all before the end. At the end, there's a showdown, but the question is the showdown with Xena or with Deacons? That's the thing I have not really remembered. I know that there's got to be a thing where they have a life or death showdown. It's that kind of story. It's a thriller, a romantic comedy thriller. You need a life or death showdown with the people with the threat. The question is this: with the killer and Xena. How does it end? See this? I had not decided this. Is it? Oh, there we go. How does it end? I'm going to just copy this here and put this here because we need to figure this out. This is the big issue. You need to figure out the end before you can write the beginning. I'm actually going to take that. Hang on a second. Just so you see, this is the job here. Okay. When I am at the end of the boom. Okay. You need to figure out the end before you can write the pilot. Okay, so let me just put that there because this is just the notes that I'm going to put into this YouTube video. That's at the end of every session, I try to summarize what it is, put it in the description, and that's important. Okay, so how does it end? So what we've got here is actually two. Okay, there's really two ways to go here. So the choice is, does it end with a physical fight or with well, there's two threats. This is the interesting thing. We have Xena, who actually murdered George, and we have the serial killer Deakins. They've got two threats. Who is the final confrontation with Deakins or Xena? This is a big thing. There's a similarity between video games and movies or TV shows or stories in general, which is you have to figure out who the boss battle is. What is the final confrontation? What is the biggest problem that you must overcome? And that is what we are coming to here. This is me every script. I find the people who don't. I find a lot of people who keep on saying that, but I will, and I don't mean to be mean about this, but I find a lot of people who say, I don't want to know, I just want to figure it out as I go along. A lot of those people do not finish their scripts. So I will give myself a little credit here. I believe this kind of thinking is how you get to finish your script and how you make it satisfying. And I'm going to just take a stand on that one. If you don't figure out your ending, you can not do this, but I'm saying to do this. Figure out. So now let's just we got a choice. This is important. You always have to come to making it a question and then coming up with the answer. All of writing is making it a question and then coming up with the answer. Now, the question we have come to is, who's the main villain? Is it Deakins or Xena? There's an argument to be made for either one. In some ways, it's kind of cool if the worst person is Xena, the influencer, not Deakins, the serial killer. I think it's Xena. But the question is, because then the question is, what is the triumph over Xena? Because in a way, the cruelest thing they could do to Xena is not expose her, because exposing her would make her famous, at very worst, infamous. I'm putting, I really should do this in the notes, but sometimes you just work in the outline. It kind of feels like the worst thing they can do to Xena is not expose her villainy, because infamy is fame, and that's what she wants. Infamy is still fame. That's a good line. Infamy is still fame. Yes. So the question is, what... Is there a way for them to frame as deacons for Xena's crime and take away her... Or should it be that deacons kill Xena and then they have to deal with the fact that he kind of did them a favor? Yeah, that's definitely something I'll have to deal with later. Yes, that is what we're going to have to wrestle with. Is that George's philosophy of fear nothing is what scared Madeline into fearing everything. But at the moment, what I'm recognizing is that's a secondary problem to it's a secondary problem to the big one, which is, what is this story about for Madeline and Norman? No, this is not a stupid question. The answer is no. That this is a surprise. The audience will find out that Xena is the killer as a surprise, as a plot twist in the last episode, or in the second to last episode, somewhere at the end, depending on how much time we want to have with her being an additional threat. So the answer is no. One of the things we're doing here is Xena being the murderer of George is a reveal. It's a plot twist late in the story. This is interesting. I have gotten myself because I wrote this. I'm writing this really fast to keep this reasonable on YouTube. I have not figured out the ending, and that's going to and that really comes to what this was originally. What I was thinking was maybe Deakins basically says, "Look, Xena is the one who made all this happen by murdering George." And so what Deakins is saying is, let's just walk away. You don't tell anyone what I did, and I won't tell anyone what you did. But they didn't have anything that they did. What if they kill Xena and Deakins knows, and then he offers the walk away plan? Yeah, because the thing is, if Deakins kills Xena, yeah, but the truth is, that's I need to. The reason that I'm working on this is because once I know what the ultimate twist, the ultimate reveal, the ultimate choice is, everything else becomes a thing leading to that. Very often it's leading to it by going in the opposite direction. Very often it's like making it harder to get there. But still, every choice I'm making is about building to the pressure of this moment. and I don't know what that moment is yet. I had talked about it was in the other. It's in the other. It's the series outline. Hold on. Okay. One possibility was that they frame him. In other words, he. Okay. Yeah. What I thought was possibly they kill Xena and then they say, let's, we've got a serial killer here. Let's make it look like he did it. And they, so basically they have done a bad thing to get a good ending. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that he actually kills Xena and then says, hey, here's the deal. I took care of our problem. Now you're going to let me go. That's the trade. And they say, sure. But as soon as he's gone, they're like, nah, we're not letting him go. And they call the cops. All right, so. Where are we? Oh gosh, I got lost here. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so these are the possibilities. Deakins kills Xena and then says, hey, let's all walk away now. I'll let you live and you let me live. They agree, but when he's gone, they turn him in anyway. Now, the problem with that is he doesn't really the problem with that is that he says, like, you let me live, and they say okay, and then they go turn him into the police. It's kind of not it's just not a great scene. It's not a great, first of all, he should have seen it coming. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's a strong enough ending, even though conceptually it is. No, that's, if Deakins is the serial killer, the question is, who is worse, the serial killer or the murderer who's trying to who's murdering for fame? And she actually becomes a serial killer because she ends up killing more than one person. But the question is the serial killer worse than someone who's murdering purely just in order to increase her own her fame? There's an argument that Xena's just as bad as Deakins. Yeah, once again, that's not a great satisfying conclusion. It's also not an action by the main characters. And the problem with this is the action is simply calling the cops, and that troubles me. It's just not a great scene. I mean, there might be a way to make it cool, but the truth is, it just doesn't feel great. All right, So this is a big question. This is going to take a while to solve this one. All right. Okay. Hey, Wayward Soul, neat. First rough draft of your pilot. That is great. I am so happy to hear that. I was just thinking, boy, I bet I'm boring the shit out of everyone. And this at least is making me feel like, well, for in some way or other, these rambling live streams are helping you guys do your own rough drafts, and that is great. Bravo. Congratulations on that. I am really glad to hear that. That inspires me to keep going. But I'm not going to get it done today. This is clearly a bigger issue. And in fact, I'm going to move it to the top. Okay, boom, 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 boom. All right, so what we're going is here. This is where we are. This is what happened. The so far so good leads to this. That's cool. That's where we are. And that is where we're going to be until next time, because this is a big question. I may have to think about this overnight and maybe over a couple of days. Once again, congratulations, Wayward Soul. Wayward Soul. That is great. Congratulations, Wayward. On that happy note, I think I'm going to take the rest of the day off. And so see you tomorrow when we will work more on the big question. How does this thing end? Okay, go write something.